Isabel Haynes and Anna Acevedo. It's January 11, 2012, the 4th anniversary of the death of your sons in the terrible tragedy outside of Bathurst. And I was wondering if you can tell us if you think anything has changed since your sons were killed.
Well, the year after our children were killed, they banned 15 passenger vans here in New Brunswick. And they banned them in Quebec, and they were already banned in Nova Scotia. And they made winter tires mandatory in the schools for all vehicles that are being used for student transportation. But also at the time in 2010, October 2010, is it October? They said winter tires were mandatory in all vehicles, but we found out that at the time that the multifunctionality buses had combination tires, and it took us 4 months to struggle with the government to implement winter tires on the multifunctionality buses, and we had to do a lot of advocating and pushing the government to change that, and it did happen. And so that changed too. And now there's now that we have these vehicles in our province, and now we know that the winter tires are mandatory on the multifunctionality buses, and which tires they need to use, and which is winter tires. Now that they really don't know who should be driving these multifunctionality buses. And when we had the coroner's inquest, they one of the recommendations was to have the Class 2B drivers, and we're still trying to push the government to recommend the recommendation.
What recent events have made you really wonder whether the public has learned anything, or whether there needs to be some kind of a public awareness campaign on the issue of 15 passenger vans for transportation?
Well, there's a company in PEI that wanted to do a shuttle using 15 passenger vans from Prince Edward Island to New Brunswick, and they want to use 15 passenger vans, and I just felt like I don't know or people realize that you know what kind of vehicles they are, and that there is alternative vehicles out there that they can use that are CSA approved.
What's the biggest problem with the 15 passenger vans as far as you're concerned?
Well, there's not just one biggest problem. There's many faults with these vehicles. There's the extended cab on the rear, which makes the vehicle heavier in the rear once they put the luggage and people in the back, and that it's easier to fishtail, and that they're made of light tin, and they don't have no safety structure, and that they have wide windows, and that when they roll, the top caves in, and that the windows pop, and it's easy for the passengers to be ejected, and that you have to check the air pressures on the tires, and the different loads, and
that they were designed for cargo vans.
And they were only designed for cargo, for freight to be on the bottom of the van, not people.
So
but
what's
it makes it a higher center of gravity. And they were never made or intended for people transportation.
So what's the biggest issue as far as you're concerned when it comes to the use of 15 passenger vans as a vehicle for transporting human beings? What is it that you think people need to know? Is it a public awareness? Have they not learned anything from the Boys in Red tragedy? Here we are 4 years later, and you're dealing with Prince Edward Island Company. What's going on? What's missing in the equation here?
That there's not enough awareness out there for the public, and that that there is alternative vehicles that can be used.
So if you had a wish and that you could make, and if you could ask the government to do, the government of New Brunswick and the government of Canada to do one thing when it comes to 15 passenger vans, what would, and the use of multifunction activity buses, what would it be?
To implement the recommendations from our son's inquest, to ban 15 passenger vans from student transportation across Canada, and to use Class 2B drivers.
Thank you very much.